Bounce with the rhythm, bounce with the rhythm. I said bounce, 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 bounce. I said bounce, 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 bounce.
Hey, good. It's Any Given Sunday. It's the Fanatical Elves Network, and I'm John Suchan, part of the Fanatical Elves Network and part of Fans First Sports. Well, wasn't that a fun Saturday if you're a Cleveland Browns fan? Lord have mercy. We are even season, and we're all exhausted. It was something of a spectacle. Preseason game, the Brownies played the Buffalo Bills on the field of play, which was, Shedeur Sanders did really good. He did really well. I'm a big Shedeur fan. Did some really good things. He made some mistakes, the interception, things like that, where he threw the ball slightly behind a tight end that's probably not going to make his team. That was unfortunate. The last drive before the end of the half wasn't great. They got the ball deep in their own territory. He did use his cadence as well. I think they've talked about that a little bit, Coach Todd Monken and others, about the growth of Shedeur Sanders. So that was the best part of the game, right? We enjoyed that part of the game. I think many of us were looking forward to seeing Shedeur play. Coming into the game, I think it was a foregone conclusion that probably Deshaun Watson would be the week one starter, or that would be announced. Now, that changed because of what happened after the game. Man, I have said for a long, long time, and many of you who follow this and others on our Fanatical Elves Network, if you listen to other podcasts or you read my writings or any of that, or you're a Browns fan, you've been around long enough, you know what's out there, see what's happening. Deshaun Watson was signed here by a Browns organization that made a huge, huge, huge mistake in 2022. I even wrote an article for Dog Pound Daily back in the day that was called "The Browns Making a Deal with the Devil." That was back in 2022 when all this went down, when they brought in Deshaun Watson ball the previous year for Houston because he was facing all these criminal and anti-criminal charges off the field of play with all this stuff that happened in life. The Browns brought him in regardless. And we tried to get behind him. A lot of fans did. There was a group of fans, though, that have since never been supportive of the Cleveland Browns. I mean, there are many people, and you probably know the same people that I do. Well, maybe not the same people, but say that the message that they will not follow the Cleveland Browns until this guy is off the team. The Browns organization made a huge mistake, and they're running into that wall right now, and there's no turning back. And especially after what happened yesterday, after the game, when Deshaun Watson went off for about 7 minutes, he talked about it shouldn't come as any bit of a surprise to most of us. I mean, this is what we've been talking about amongst us fans anyway. But Deshaun is a complete, utter mental basket case. And I've been saying this many years, right? We know this about this. This guy is mentally gone. He's a hot mess. He's a mental mess. I honestly, the last 3 minutes of that press conference, if you go back and listen to the last 3 minutes, just as a human being and listening to that, he is a mess. And from the mental standpoint of things, I would hope that the organization is thinking just beyond play. This guy needs some help. I don't laugh about it. I chuckle now, but it is really a serious problem. And I don't really have a lot of things positive to say about Deshaun because of all the things that have happened in his life. Things around in their lives, but the way that he was talking toward the end of that conversation, talking about his wife, his mother, finding peace, it's he shared some thoughts that he probably had been tucked in, and it's just human, kind of cracked. And a lot of people have talked about how that was very significant in this whole scope of what's going to happen. If the Browns decide, or today, Todd Monken, I think, is talking at 3 o'clock this afternoon to the media. If he comes out and he announces that Deshaun Watson is going to be starting quarterback in week 1 of this regular season, I'm telling you right now, I mean, it's already a hot mess. This is like by far, probably besides when Hugh running this team into the ground, this is by far one of the worst moments in Cleveland Browns history. And on top of that, it comes after we find out Friday night that Nick Chubb is game. You want to talk about two polar opposites? Nick Chubb and Deshaun Watson. Wow. Deshaun Watson said in his press conference at the beginning of the stages basically that the booing was disrespectful and that, he did all these things. He did charity work and everything, and that he thought that the fans would forgive him and forget. But in the and when he was referencing all this from one of the pressers, I don't know who it was in the Cleveland press, but talked about wins and how that might have something to do with the boo birds. And honestly, it does. And to be honest, the Browns 2 years ago when he went down with his torn Achilles. Yes, there were Browns fans, and I know some of you who are in the stadium have said, well, those were mostly Bengals fans. But rest assured, there are a lot of Browns fans that were very frustrated back then 2 years ago. I was in Wichita, Kansas on that day when he went down in that game. And I remember being in that sports bar of fans that were booing. Now, you may not like it, and those of you who don't like the Cleveland Browns, you want to rip this fan base, go right ahead. You're welcome to that, but those fought Deshaun, and Deshaun admitted that. But that last part of his press conference, talking about his mom, talking about his wife, and talking about how he enjoys being on the road because he's not going to get booed. And then maybe he even said, maybe I'll just play the road games. He said that in the press conference. So maybe he already knew coming into that presser that he wasn't going to be named the starter, which a lot of us would be surprised by just because all the information we've been spat at that we hear about is saying that Todd Monken would rather go with the veteran. And I haven't even talked about how he did in the game. I mean, the game was just god awful for him. He came in the second half and it was atrocious. And then you get beat writers, and listen, Mary Kay Cabot, I think that she does a respectable job. She's been in the business for a long time, but some of her takes are outlandishly just dumb. She and these other reporters were talking after the game about how Shedeur Sanders, you know, the ball to the Simmers all the time, so he's far more comfortable with things, and that's why Shedeur shined yesterday, and not why Deshaun Watson did not, which is a bunch of BS. If you're a good quarterback, it doesn't matter who the hell is out there on the field to play. You're gonna play good quarterback, and Deshaun is a mess. He's seen ghosts. He can't look off his receivers. He just makes god awful mistakes, and he's not going to help this team win. I've said before, maybe he helps this team win one or two extra. Maybe if you're comparing that to someone like Shedeur Sanders, but look, Shedeur Sanders has got room to grow, and he is showing that in his progressions and what he's doing with the ball, and he's pocket and all these things. But the Browns really have a hard. They have to make a decision here. We know we've heard talked about it on the Fanatical Elf show the other day, and I know other people have been talking about it more in the last 24 hours. The Browns lease the March 11th, 2027. So what do they do in the meantime? if they come out and they put him on the field of play and they announce that he's going to be the week 1 starter, you automatically 90% of the fan base is going to be so upset. Now maybe there's a miracle thrown in, and he talks about winning, and Todd Monken talks about winning, and maybe they go on the road and they miraculously win 2 games against Jacksonville and Tampa Bay, but that's like 1% chance. So then he has to come back to Cleveland. Bottlegate. Oh, it'll be 2.0 Bottlegate. The fans booed him every time in the preseason game, and then on top of that, after the game, he spits all this stuff out about the fans, and you can't bring that back. So we got a problem. I was thinking, we got a problem, Houston. Well, we got a problem, Cleveland. This is, and the Browns, the sad part of it, we all know this too, is this goes back to when the deal was done. They made a deal with the devil. And when you make a deal with the devil, it's not going to end well. And that's what we're seeing right now, and how the organization tries to get out of this. And it was funny is during the broadcast, I don't know if many of you watched the actual live broadcast, but the Cleveland broadcast had Andrew Berry out there up in the press box talking to the commentators, Joe Thomas and Chris. Can't think of Chris's last name, but they were discussing, the growing the ground and looking awful. So it's going to be a very interesting week. Hell, I don't know what to expect, right? Who knows? It's something of a spectacle, and it just adds to this misery that we are experiencing right now. And it's been a long, Browns fans are hardy. I really appreciated listening to Rod Bloom and his Browns Blitz and his guest the other night, Tom Brunswick, talking about how being a Browns fan is about family and passing things down from generation to generation. Let's talk about the upcoming week. We're going to pause here quickly. This is Any Given Sunday. We'll be right back. Hey, it's Any Given Sunday here. Johnny Suchan, part of the Fanatical Elves Network, part of Fans First Sports Network, and a shout out to Hemisphere Coffee Roasters. They shake the hand of the farmer. Check their website out, buy some amazing coffee, and Sherry's Licorice at sherry'slicorice.com. If you put in the code Elves Network 15 on a $25 purchase on their website, you get 15% off their licorice. Blue raspberry, cinnamon, watermelon, you got it. It's their wonderful family there. Sherry's Licorice, family business. Hemisphere Coffee Roasters, family business. Check them out and support us here at the Fanatical Elves Network. The Browns have their next game Thursday. I don't think anybody's going to be in the stands. Even people that I know who have season tickets are like, I'm not going to that. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens today. If Todd Monken decides to say anything at 3:00, or if he waits till later this week, or doesn't make a decision until the game after the game on Thursday, who's going to be their starting quarterback. We're getting down to a time where the Browns need, and after what happened yesterday in that fiasco, you just can't put Deshaun Watson on the field of play. We didn't think, none of us here, at least I here at the Fanatical Elves Network, for Deshaun should have any business playing this season. The Browns need to find some creative way to keep him away from this team any longer. He does not want to be here. He said that basically. If you listen between the lines and listen to every word that he said at that presser, he broke. He broke yesterday. And besides that, the mental capacity that he is and what he's talking about and how he's talking about it is kind of scary for him. Now, I know a lot of you could care less about him, and I don't have a lot of care for him much either, considering everything that's going on. But see anybody put in, do anything to hurt themselves, and he's not in a real good spot. So I hope the Browns are listening to him just to help him. because this kid needs help. And he's an older, I don't even know how old Deshaun is now, but he's had a tough life. He talked about, like I said, his mom and his wife. He was reaching. He was really reaching yesterday. So we'll see what happens next. It should be fun. If anything changes here this afternoon after the presser, we hear any Todd Monken probably be back on to bring. Make sure you listen to Steve Gill's show. He just was on with his Dog Pound South show. That the audio of that show will be coming on later this afternoon. Please subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify. Watch us right now live on Facebook, YouTube, and the. I hope you all have a very good rest of your Sunday. Beautiful weather here in the Buckeye State. Hope it's beautiful wherever you're at. Johnny Cleveland podcast coming up later this week. Look forward to talking to you more about that. I'm writing about Nick Chubb and his retirement. What a great, great Cleveland Brown. Announced his retirement Friday, but he was fun to watch. The closestly what we watched when Jim Brown ran the field of play for the. So we'll talk more about Nick Chubb in my next show and podcast. We'll have another Fanatical Elf show coming up later this week, along with and his brother Jeff. You have a very good rest of your afternoon. Take care. See you later. Go Browns.